the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker?
It's good to see you. Listen,
You're a Bitcoin maximalist. You're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Down in competition in the ratings tab for late night weekend viewers.
Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Happy Wednesday. I had a guest coming on today, Alex Massioli, interesting guy, crypto guy, but he's got COVID, so he'll come on Monday. And then David Gockstein bailed out on me, claimed he had some medical thing too. I don't know, ever since I did my new background and set, David's just MIA. I'm wearing a Dallas Cowboys hat. Now let me be clear, I hate the Dallas Cowboys. Hate them with a passion. Why, you ask? They're not America's team, first of all, whatever. Because I'm from Wisconsin. I'm a Green Bay Packers fan. And if you know football and you go back, the Packers and the Cowboys had a huge rivalry. Not so much anymore today. It's been a long time. We're going way back. You know, they had the Ice Bowl. You know, the great story, right, is that the New York Giants, who basically, except for that, you know, short minute with Eli Manning, have sucked for the most part, had two assistant coaches, an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. One was Vince Lombardi and one was Tom Landry. And both of them wanted to be the head coach of the Giants in the 50s when the head coach left. And the Giants felt neither one of them were up for the job. This tells you a lot about the Giants, right? They haven't really ever fully changed that mindset, right? Vince Lombardi went on to the Packers and won the first Super Bowl and the third Super Bowl and, you know, built a legacy franchise. And Tom Landry went on to the Cowboys, did the same thing. But in that period, the Cowboys and the Packers were like boom, boom, boom. So when I was a kid, you know, I hated the Cowboys. So why am I wearing a Dallas Cowboys hat? Well, one, a good friend of mine is a big Cowboys guy, so that's fine. But because part of tonight's show, I'm going to talk a little bit about some sports stuff. I like to bring a little sports in. Mark Cuban's Harbinger Fund, Harbinger, the dyslexia is killing me, which is a private equity firm, in the beginning of the month expressed interest in buying an ownership stake in the Cowboys. And Jerry Jones said totally open to it. I think this is the first time, and said he respects Mark Cuban and values what it could bring. Now, the Cowboys claim they're not actively shopping for investors or anything, but it's interesting. This, I believe, would be the first time a private equity firm has bought into a major sports franchise in the U.S. I'm almost certain it would be. And so it's a big deal. So that's why I'm wearing the Cowboys hat. That and it looks good with the white background. Secondly, the Lakers are going to be bought, and I believe, someone could look it up. I could look it up. I think it's $22 billion. Hold on, let's find out. How much is the offer on the table right now to buy the Los Angeles Lakers? Let's see. Let's see what Gemini tells me. I was off by 10 billion. It's 12.5 billion. It's Mark Walter. So it's interesting. So Mark Walter's willing to sell his controlling stake to Bob Iger, the former CEO of Disney, and Josh Kushner of Thrive Capital, who's Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, Ivanka Trump's husband's brother. So Josh and Bob Iger would buy Mark Walter's controlling stake for $12.5 billion in the Lakers. So interesting developments. The Lakers, the Cowboys, and you know what I can say? I hate both of them. I never liked the Lakers. Never. I'm a Bucks fan from Milwaukee. I was a Clippers fan when I lived in LA. I don't know, something about the Lakers that just never did it for me. Definitely don't like the Dodgers. I lived in LA. I didn't like the Lakers or the Dodgers. Why didn't I like the Dodgers? Because I'm from Milwaukee, and the Dodgers and the Yankees, both of them I hate. and the Cowboys, it's different in football, but in baseball, you know, in baseball, you have teams like the Yankees and the Dodgers, and they have massive budgets. They literally buy superstar teams. They don't buy superstar players. They buy superstar teams. They like a superstar pitcher. They got a superstar hitter. They got a superstar home runner. They got a superstar left fielder. They got a superstar shortstop. They got like a superstar at every position if they need it. They can lose half their team and still have half superstars out there. And it's why the Yankees and the Dodgers consistently win so many World Series. It's not just that they're good. They are good. They're good because they're stacked. You know? There's like, why does a hot girl who's a 10 always get the guys? Because she's a 10. It's harder for the 5s. I'm from Milwaukee. That's the Green Bay Packers, Wisconsin. The only team in professional West owned by the fans. That's right. There's no Mark Walter with a. The Packers are owned after 1919. The franchise, they're the oldest. The Bears and the Packers, oldest teams in football. When the whole thing was, they were going south. They were going bankrupt, and Curly Lambeau, thus Lambeau Field, came in and saved the team, and he went public with it, sold shares. So the Packers are owned by shareholders, like a normal corporation. I don't actually own shares. I know people who do. The people with the shares own the team. It's rare. And then you got the Milwaukee Brewers, who every year are competitive. And lose usually in the playoffs to the Dodgers. I hate the Dodgers. Little engine, right? I mean, they got the Wiz, Murkowski, the pitcher who throws faster pitches than anyone in baseball. But they don't have a roster of superstars. They don't have Aaron Judge. They have a team that knows how to play and be competitive and go really deep in the playoffs. But then you run up against the Dodgers and whacked every time. So I hate the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Cowboys. And that's my sports story for the day. Meanwhile, in the WNBA, things just get worse. I know this is not a whole show about sports, but I'm having fun with it. The coach of the Fever, man, this league has just lost its marbles. They're like, let's talk about basketball. Can we not just talk about basketball? It's like, well, you guys are the one that made it not about basketball. The players, the coaches, the coach wearing the was it the Sky Coach or whatever, Chicago Sky Coach, wore the transgender people, whatever it was, inclusion shirt under a jacket during a game against the Indiana Fever, which is going to be televised because everyone wants to watch Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham. White girls, white privilege, which is what, what's her name? Tajana. I'm going to get skewered for pronouncing her name wrong. Said, after she did the horrible flagrant foul, that it was white privilege that she got ejected. Then she said it wasn't really about that. She just walked into the locker room and decided to post at white privilege. Dejanna just happened to have an impulse to post white privilege after she got ejected for basically sidelining. There's clothes hanging literally around her neck, around Sophie Cunningham under the basket. And then the Indiana Fever coach comes out the other day and does a whole big speech, to a press thing, before the game. I'm tired of all this attention being focused on anything but basketball. It should be on basketball. And anyone who suggests I don't support my team is crazy because, all I care about is my team and my players. And, I'm offended and whatever. And that's all I have to say. I'm done with you, and walks away to go play the game. Okay, I'm sorry. There's all these whining, and she gets away with it because she's gay. So she can't get the white privilege tags. If you're gay, white privilege doesn't apply, I guess. You can be black and straight or white and gay, and it'll work. And apparently now you can be trans anything, and welcome to the WNBA, except they won't actually let a trans player in because they would clobber everybody. You know what? You started this. It's not like you don't want the press to talk about it then. And I'm sorry, she's like, I didn't see the play when it happened. That's what the other coach, that's what the Chicago Sky coach said too. It's like, look at these coaches. They don't seem to see the play. What are they watching? Are they looking at the other end of the field, at court? They weren't watching their star players running down to up under the baskets and looking away. I mean, I know sometimes you don't watch everything, but you're pretty much watching where the ball is. You missed the hard clothesline foul that your player put on another teammate and got flagrant 2 and ejected from the game. You weren't watching? That's what he said. And now that's what she said. She said, Sophie Cunningham's coach, I wasn't watching the play either. Okay, no one was watching the play. Did she catch it on replay before the end of the game? Guess not, because at the end of the game, she was like, I don't think, DeJournette, everyone loves her. She's been in the league a long time. She played under the Fever coach at a different point in time. So I get it. They have a bond there. I get that. But it's you're I don't think she meant to do it. First of all, you don't know what the fuck she meant. You don't think she meant to? She's not your player. Why are you defending her? She clotheslined one of your star players. Looked like to everybody else she meant to. I mean, she's a great basketball player. She just accidentally reached up behind her, missed the ball, and somehow just accidentally managed to bring her arm around her neck and yank her fucking onto the floor. That was just that's something I would do. I'm clumsy. She's a fucking pro. Oh, I don't think she meant to. She absolutely meant to. But we don't know what was in her head. Why are you defending her? She clotheslined your player, got a flagrant 2 and ejected from the game. Oh, I think she meant well. She's just competitive. Why are you defending her? Of course people are going to beat up on you. It's your own team. It's your player. Now you're out there. I hate this, insinuating I don't look out for my players. Then do what most coaches do. Get in the face of the refs. Eject her twice, eject her 4 times, eject me with them. You're the leader. You take the hits. You don't stand behind and go, I didn't see it. I wasn't watching. And somehow apparently didn't watch it during the rest of the game because afterwards said, I don't think she meant to. But sure, it was a fair call. It was a fair call. It was absolutely a fair call. It might have not been fair enough. A single game suspension. I mean, this game's getting ugly. It is great entertainment, though. It's like the WWE, except these people aren't real. They're not coordinating it like in wrestling. Okay, that's my sports rant for the day. I'm still going to wear the Dallas Cowboy hat. All right, so in other world news, breaking news, I'm not going to talk about Iran. No, I just said Iran, but I'm not going to talk about it. What I am going to talk about is a few things in the political side of things. We're going to talk about Carolyn Leavitt leaving the White House. I also want to talk about a Fox News survey in Maine. So this is interesting, right? So, Graham Plattner, who was the candidate for the Senate in Maine, obviously, he was a strong candidate. He really was. I mean, for the left and for the Democrats. And they didn't care that he hates the Jews and hates women and is abusive and hates vets, even though he was one. I'm exaggerating. Don't know that he hates vets and don't know that he hates all women. He is abusive. That's clear. He gets blackout drunk and does really bad things. He's accused by people on the right and the left who he had relationships with of being inappropriate sexually. That's a mild term. And in one case of forcibly raping them against their will without a condom. When they weren't actively in the relationship. And was wearing a Nazi tattoo. Yeah, all that didn't matter. Bernie was like, I'm for him. People make some misjudgments in their lives. Wow. But, they got rid of Graham. And Susan Collins, the incumbent, was riding high on hoping she'd beat him. I don't know that she would have beat Graham Plattner. Susan Collins she's been there forever. She's the old, tired establishment who's been there for 100 years. She's not really independent. Maine's a little independent. And, she votes with Trump all the time. Once in a while, she says something, but she's viewed pretty much as side by side with him. She's also just old school. They don't like Chuck Schumer on the Democrat side either. They're tired of all these long-term people. But they basically, classic Democrat style, just like with Kamala and Biden. By the way, sidebar to Biden. Hunter Biden came out and said that Joe Biden's cancer is metastasized to his bones. The guy's dying. They had to have known he had cancer before he got out when he was running. They had to have. And he was still going to run. And they almost let him do it. If he hadn't choked during the debate, question, did they intend for him to choke? Did they spike his water or not spike it, one way or the other, so that he would choke. He'd be president right now. Literally, he was already incapable of showing up most of the time, half asleep, doddering around, sleeping most of the day. I think about all the vacations, like opposite of Trump, who, according to Caitlin Collins from CNN, she's like, the guy literally doesn't sleep. She's like, you get on the plane, if you're on the trip to Asia and you're the press corps, plan to stay awake all night and day, because Trump just stays awake. Just wakes people. He gets AIDS, wakes them up. Like, he's just going. Anyway, Joe Biden would be halfway to the grave right now. Yeah. Which means Kamala Harris would be halfway to the presidency. She should have said, no, keep Joe in, because then I'll become president. Anyway, sidebar. Susan Collins is the old school that people are getting tired of, not just in Maine. Like I said, Chuck Schumer's going to struggle in New York. All these old candidates. I mean, what's his name? Mitch McConnell in Kentucky. He doesn't even know if the guy's alive. These people just disappear. Like, wow, I want that job. Her new candidate, Troy Jackson, who, again, back to the thing, they kicked Plattner out and just put Troy Jackson in. They had like a mini primary. I guess I don't even know what they did. He, according to a Fox News poll, is and by the way, Susan Collins has been there for 20 years, right? She won in 96, so yeah, 20 years. 55% of Maine voters in a Fox News poll, it's just a poll, say they're more concerned with how much Susan Collins sides with Trump, compared to 45% who are worried, or 43% that Troy Jackson is too close to the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America. So you got more people in Maine worried that Susan Collins is too much of a Trumpy than that Troy Jackson is too much of a Mandami, of a socialist. This socialist tide is real, everybody. It's not fake. And I think a lot of people are reading it wrong. It's both generational. There is a generational movement. It is going to sever the Democratic Party as we know it. It's going to take over. If you don't like it, you're going to say it's going to infect it, but it is going to consume the Democratic Party. It is going to do very much what the Tea Party did in the Republican side back in 2011. The Tea Party emerged out of the financial crisis of 2008. The Tea Party emerged as a fringe movement, conservative, right, Republican leaning, libertarian, but right, on the right. And it was an insurgent upstart movement. And the mainstream Republicans tried to squash it and squish it and make sure no candidates could win. And they pretty much succeeded on the surface. But it was seeping in. It was growing. It was popular. And remember, polls said that they weren't going to win. They kept saying polls show that people don't like them. When you poll an insurgent force, you're going to get the wrong numbers. The polls showed that Trump wasn't going to win in 2015. Polls to an insurgent force tend to misrepresent it. Polls show that most people don't like democratic socialism. Polls will not reflect the truth here. Just like the Tea Party. What was the result of the Tea Party? Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the Tea Party birthed Donald Trump. He's like the heir of it. It like landed on him. President twice over 12 years. Totally took over the Republican Party. When he first was elected, Speaker of the House, from Wisconsin at the time, Paul Ryan, just, and Rance Pieber. My dyslexia can get me in trouble. Rance, whatever, the head of the Republican National Committee. Both, like, at first were trying to push back, and then they just coalesced. That's what's going to happen in the Democratic Party. This Socialist Party thing is not a fluke. And people who think, well, people won't like the policies, they'll be disillusioned. I doubt it. It's not about just the policies. It's about the disgust with the current system and of governance in both parties. The Tea Party was a reaction to the Republicans. It led to Donald Trump. It led to MAGA. It led to a reshaping of the Republican Party. I think you're going to see the same thing with the Democratic Socialist movement. I think you're going to see it start seeping in and reshaping the party. I don't know who the standard bearer of that will be in 2028. I do think someone will emerge. I think it will probably be 2028. Could be 2032. And I don't think it's AOC. I know a lot of people will be like AOC. I don't think so. Possible. Can't be Bernie. He's like almost 100. He's like 90. He would be at the time. Be like 88 or something, 2028. It's probably someone we don't know. You know, Trump was doing The Apprentice in 2011 when the Tea Party emerged. It's probably someone you don't know. But I do think someone's going to emerge as a standard bearer of that in a Trump-like fashion that will appeal broadly to a lot of people, including moderates and independents, and even some people a little on the slightly to the right. It's going to be harder to pull the right. But Trump had a hard time pulling the left. He ultimately pulled the working class, but they were more conservative at core in a lot of ways. And they didn't like the progressive slants of the Democratic Party. That's going to happen. So these trends are real. I'm not going to be surprised if Susan Collins loses in Maine at all. I think she very well likely could and will. And people all, you know, again, people say she underpolls. So again, it's possible. You know, in Wisconsin, the socialist candidate almost won as governor. Well, the nominee for governor, you know, the current governor is Democrat. He's leaving office. Wisconsin can go both ways. The governor before him was a Republican. But Huang is like an interesting force, you know, and she campaigned on things that were pretty, she said things in the past that she tried to distance herself from, like defund the police, etc. Thanksgiving's horrible, whatever. But, you know, now she was on like raise the minimum wage, you know, make some stuff around affordable living. Yeah, a platform that was leftish, but like appeals to people's sense of like, I'm not able to financially survive. She thought she was going to win. The guy who won, David Crowley, black, he's the executive, the Milwaukee County executive, which is like the LA supervisor, right? It's like that kind of a position. It was a crowded field. He dropped out early in like June. No, maybe it was earlier than that. Maybe it was April or May. I don't know. He dropped out. And then others dropped out. And when the race cleared up, in a twist of events, he decided to re-inject himself in, thinking, everybody dropped out pretty much except this, you know, except for Huang, who's a socialist. I can come in and be like the more moderate Democrat. And he came in and beat her. I came back in and won. Most people didn't see it coming. So he'll be the candidate for the governorship for the Democrats. But that was close, and that could have easily gone to the progressives. And we're seeing a lot of movement toward the progressives. Colorado, Minnesota, you know, Maine. I mean, you're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing it at the local level. You're seeing it at now the congressional level. You're starting to see it seeping in governor's races, certainly in Minnesota. So I don't know. And again, it was close in Minnesota, you know, and now it's going to be Amy Klobuchar, the senator, you know, running for governor. She is sort of progressive, not as far. But I mean, this movement, well, my point is this movement is real. It's not crazy. And I know if David were here, he'd say it's communism. I don't care what you want to call it. It's people are fed up with the system. They're fed up with their current lives. They're fed up with the cost of living. They're fed up with the fact that rent, they can't pay it, and health insurance costs more than rent. They're scared about their health. They're scared about their stability. They're scared they're living paycheck to paycheck. They're scared they can't make enough in every paycheck. They're scared that food, energy, everything's too expensive. And the future isn't looking bright because AI is going to take your job away. And sure, those who truly have a vision go, well, it'll take your job away and no one will need to work and there'll be infinite income. And people go, oh, okay, make that math. I don't know. Great if that happens. But in the meantime, I'm fucked. So the DSA appeals, not because they're commies, because they're doing what Ronald Reagan did. They're doing what Bill Clinton did. In a sense, they're doing what Franklin Roosevelt did. You know, James Carville may be old and kind of off his rocker, but he was right when he said it's the economy, stupid. People are scared about their futures, and the DSA is offering viable solutions. Will they work? I say viable. You can go, they're not viable. Well, they're viable to a voter who's getting screwed right now. Time will tell if they actually work, if they can even implement them, if they'll compromise on them. But people buy a dream, a vision. They buy what something can be. That's just how life is. You know, that's why people do in relationships too, right? They do when they buy houses. They do when they get into new things. People buy a dream. How many people go on dates and they're like, oh my God, she's perfect. He's the best. Da-da-da. They buy the vision. And they get married. They're like, oh, no, it was not how it really was. Well, maybe that's what's going to happen with the DSA. Madami. But Madami's going to morph. Trump morphed. Trump morphed, in my mind, too far away from what he was supposed to do. And I don't care. You call me Trump derangement syndrome. I'm not. I was a fan of him running in 2015. I hated what they did to him in the second round. It was weaponized justice at best, or worst. I don't know how you say it. It was at worst, it was weaponized justice. Well, at best, meaning at least at a minimum, it was weaponized justice. It was a lot more than that. It was an orchestrated attempt by both the media, the establishment, the Democratic Party, and the established branches of government, in some cases from his own party, to take him out, literally and figuratively, to make it impossible for him to run and to govern in his first term. People love to forget. I said this from the beginning when the whole Russian collusion thing. I'd argue with liberal friends of mine. I'd be like, there's no evidence of collusion. And I'm not an expert. I wasn't an expert about COVID. It doesn't make sense to keep people off the beaches or out of the water. Like, it seemed made up. It seemed fabricated. It didn't even make sense. They drilled down. They had a special counsel. They spent $70 million, $100 million, I don't know how much. They literally derailed his ability to have an administration and kept trying to have any effectiveness. And who knows that and then they made him bitter and angry. Who could you blame for that? And then they went after him for 4 years after that, tried to take away his money, put him in jail, ruin him, whatever. He came back and won. Yeah, he's on a vengeance. He's on a vengeance tour. You got what you started, people. You created the monster. But I'm not happy about what's happening now. And I do think he's gotten away from the priorities of, maybe they never were priorities. I don't know. I'm not in his head, of really focusing on what the American people need. Long term, he's doing some great things for the economy. I stand by that. I like the tariff stuff. I like how he's pushing things in that regard. I like how he does these deals. I'm a fan of shutting Iran down. I think he's trying to find an out right now. I know I said I wouldn't, but I am talking about it. He's trying to get an escape route, and I think he just wants out. And the Iranians aren't going to give it to him. He just wants him to sign a deal and be like, the strait is open. I don't care if you make the deal with Oman, whatever. We'll say we made it with you. Open the fucking strait. We'll take down our blockade. We'll lift a few sanctions. And can we get on with business? Because this is going to fuck my political stuff up here in America. Because we can't bomb you enough to make you stop. I think that's what they're realizing. We can't escalate the war enough to force Iran not to be, because Iran doesn't need to do much. They don't have to have a military. They don't have to have a Navy and an Air Force and all this stuff that we took out. They just need a few ballistic missiles and some drones and those little dinghy boats they have, the little fast boats. All you got to do is scare the shipping through the strait, and no one's coming through because they don't want the insurers don't want to insure them, and the companies don't want to bring the tanker in and risk it getting blown up or shot or sunk or anything. It's not worth it. It's fuck that. They're blocking it effectively. All they got to do is shoot a couple missiles at Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, have Yemen shoot some, have the Houthis shoot some from Yemen and Saudi Arabia, take out a plant here, desalinization plant there, hit a field here, and the Gulf states all freak out. All they can do is a little to destabilize, and we can bomb them and bomb them and bomb them. They can keep doing a little to destabilize until you finally crush them, strangle them economically. But that's going to take time, and I think Trump wants an off-ramp. But still, I'm a fan of that. But a lot of people would say America first meant America first. So people are looking for a solution that is America, and they're not getting it from either side right now. There's a lot of disillusioned Republicans and MAGA people, but Trump did reshape the Republican Party. There's a whole lot of disillusioned people on the left with the Democratic Party. And it's going to be interesting in 2028. I don't know that Gavin Newsom does it. I mean, or Kamala Harris, are you kidding me? Tim Walz. This is like the train wreck ticket, the Bad News Bears. Kamala's a joke. She loses and writes a book about how she lost and it was everyone else's fault. And she still I think is going to run. And Tim Walz, who was supposed to be like Mr. America, the all-American guy, he won't even seek re-election as governor because it's billion-dollar scandals and fraud have totally destroyed his ability to be a governor. And he says, we did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong. This is a Republican attack. And the media suggests it's a Republican attack. Except, there's this woman, her name's Amy Klobuchar, who's a senator from Minnesota running for governor and happens to be a Democrat and extremely progressive. I heard her yesterday saying, if I'm governor, I am going to end this fraud. You do not deserve to be paying billions of dollars for fraud. And it is on us as a government. We failed you. We, meaning Tim Walz, with a dream ticket. But anyway, I don't know that Gavin Newsom could do it, to be honest. I mean, he's the most charismatic one out there. But the whole thing's fascinating, isn't it? Meanwhile, Carolyn Leavitt is leaving the White House. She was a great press secretary, I got to say. I don't care if you like the politics or not. Come on. Just for a minute, be honest. Binder was the most pathetic press secretary. She always looked like a deer in the headlights. She didn't have no idea what she was talking about. She wasn't that bright. And she just constantly kept looking back at the notes and referring people to other things. She lied. It was so apparent she was lying all the time. I used to wonder, is she lying or does she just not know? Do they just not tell her anything? But then you could tell she was lying at the same time. She was lying and in the dark. Carolyn Leavitt was never in the dark. I mean, maybe every so often, every press secretary is a little in the dark, but, really believed both in the president and Trump and his administration and what they were doing, but also saw through the media and was able to jar with them one-on-one and go head-to-head with them and be like, I'm calling you bullshit, I'm gonna do it with a smile on my face, but I'm calling it. You can't, whatever. Binder would just be pretend there wasn't anything. Instead of being once every so often she'd get defensive, but mostly she'd be like, I'm going to refer you to the Department of Justice on that matter. And as I've said before, the president has been, and she just sounded like a talking point. It's just somebody shut her up. We just remove her. Put an AI in, please. Put a comic in. Put Stephen Colbert in. He'd be a better press secretary. And then there was Jen Psaki. Jen was a better press secretary. Jen was smarter, but she'd circle back. I'm going to circle back on that. Well, let me circle back on that. Let me come back. Let me get back to you on that. Let me get back to you. Let me just get back to you. I'll get back to you. I mean, I will get back to you. And if I tell you I'll get back to you enough times, you might all forget how many things I'm getting back to you on. I don't know. Understandably, they were working with Biden, who was only half there. It's not fair to them. But I mean, Carolyn Leavitt's right up there. Dee Dee Myers, Clinton's first press secretary, and I think the first female press secretary. Dee Dee Myers was up there, great press secretary. But Carolyn Leavitt was a great press secretary. She's leaving. She wants to take care of, she's got 2 kids, just had another one. She wants to take care of her family. Fair choice. You're running in one of the most demanding jobs in the world. Hard to raise 2 kids, especially you just had one. I mean, you can pass the kids off, but if you really want to be a mother, and who knows, could she have had other reasons? Could she just been tired? Yeah, it's a tiring job. I don't think she for a second doesn't believe in what Trump's doing. She's one of his most loyal. The misogynist has 2 of his most loyal aides, Susie Wiles and Carolyn Leavitt. Wow. He hates women, never gives them any power. That's where the people are distrusting the whole thing. All right. So we went from the Dallas Cowboys to Carolyn Leavitt, the DSA taking over the Democratic Party in between. Watch out in these midterms. And I know Landy, if he were here, would say, I'm reading the crosstabs. Some of this stuff won't show up in the crosstabs, Landy. You won't see some of it. And I don't know. I don't see how the Republicans win in the House. I don't see it. The math isn't there, and the politics aren't there, and the economy's not there. People are really unhappy with the economy. They're really unhappy. The majority of Americans don't like what's happening in Iran. They don't like what we're doing. Even Republicans, it's 40% support it. They think that most people don't think we're going to get a good outcome. Even more importantly, they think we're not going to get a good outcome. That's Republicans and Democrats, which means that's bad. Trump's support on the economy is just plummeted. People don't feel good about it. They're going to blame who's ever in office. And you know what? You're in office. You can't blame the situation you got. That's what Biden did. Well, look what I inherited from Trump. I always hate that when people do that. Then get someone else in the job. Like, you don't get to blame the past person for why you did it. Like, yes, it's legitimate to have to build on what you were dealing with, but you know, it's not a good excuse and voters don't buy it. The Senate's trickier. The math favors the Republicans, but you never know. And as I've said before, if they lose both houses, we're just in gridlock again. And then 2028. And the more that happens, the more you'll see the push coming from like the progressive wing. And I think a new version of the MAGA wing that will push both the establishments out and go, we're just done and tired with you. Been there, done that. 1992 with Leader Leave, we had the same message. We didn't have the same tools. We had an impact. With that, I bid you adieu. I don't know why I said that. I never say that. There's something to think about all that out there, though. All right, I'll probably be on David's show on Friday because he'll be healthy for his show. He's probably gonna be healthy for his show tomorrow too. Like, yeah, he's skimping out on me. He's wimping out. Scared of the combo. And then I'll be back on Monday, and I think Alex Massioli will join me, and he'll be a great guest. All right, everybody, have a good one. I'm Rob Nelson. Thanks for listening.
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. I got someone's underwear.
Robert Kennedy, thanks for taking a minute. Simple question.
Tucker,
It's good to see you. Listen,
if you're a Bitcoin maximalist, you're Bitcoin forever.
I hate this central bank digital currency.
Hey, I don't have all the answers, but together, I know we can find them.
Down in competition in the ratings.